Oh, hey, OBJ, how you doing? Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. It's like Matthew Stafford was back in Detroit, Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down the Green Bay Packers' victory over the LA Rams, 36-28. Before we get to that, I want to do a big shout and thank you to some brand new patrons and YouTube members. First, on the Patreon side of things, we have I'm Tom Brady and I won the Super Bowl last year. Want to see me do it again? No. We got Christian Martinez and That One Gamer 141. A big shout out and thank you to you all. And over on the YouTube side of things, we have Edwin Flores and Megaskins Fan 1. A big shout out and thank you to you all. So the Green Bay Packers were not really favored in this game, considering all the injuries that they have had. You know, lost to the Vikings last week. Rams, though they were struggling and lost their last two, coming off a bye. And oh boy, did the Green Bay Packers win this football game with huge playoff implications, because whoever lost this game was probably going to say goodbye to the number one overall seed, because you still have the Cardinals that are hanging around, you still have the Buccaneers that are hanging around, and even the Cowboys who are hanging around. And this was a game that the Packers needed to win. A week before their bye week, they're banged up, and thankfully guys like Rashawn Gary, Allen Lazard, and Aaron Jones played. While Aaron Jones and Allen Lazard weren't really difference makers here, Rashawn Gary was big time, but we'll talk about that momentarily. But the Packers able to pull off another gritty win, this time at home. They have 5 games left in the season. 3 out of the 5 are at home. So the Packers kind of just have their destiny in front of them. They just need the Cardinals to lose one time to potentially regain that number 1 seed. But again, we'll talk about that. Focusing on what the Packers did on offense first. Rodgers, 28 for 45, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing TD, broken toe. Who? And even though, Rodgers was limping off the field at some points, he was able to get it done. He's going to explore some treatments over the bye week. He said that he would not get surgery if it was going to force him to miss time. Was also only sacked 1 time. In his postgame, he said he gave Yosh Neiman a huge hug because he didn't have to think about his blind side. That's how well of a job he did. Of course, Elton Jenkins out for the year and David Bakhtiari still not playing. So Rodgers had a pretty darn good day. Dillon, 20 for 69, nice, and 5 for 21 in terms of reception. Also had a receiving touchdown. A.J. Dillon was a beast today. Aaron Jones, who a lot of people didn't think was going to play considering he was fighting that injury, 10 for 23, so not a whole lot from Aaron Jones. Devontae Adams, 8 for 104 yards. Cobb, 4 catches, 95 yards, 1 touchdown. Unfortunately, was taken out after halftime with a groin injury, hopefully nothing too serious, and he's able to recover during the bye week. Randall Cobb also was returning punts and unfortunately fumbled, and our special teams woe in the first half was abysmal. Continued to be bad. MVS, by the way, also catching for about 50 yards. But let's focus on the defense real quick. Shut out the Rams the first and the third quarter. Had 2 sacks on the day, including a forced fumble on that sack. You had 1 pick 6 by Rasul Douglas. He had 1 bad play where he got blown away by OBJ, completely blown coverage, but Rasul Douglas was all over the field. Not only had the pick 6, broke up a bunch of plays, and on top of that, almost had another interception. In total, he had 4 passes defended on the day. Rasul Douglas with the game-winning interception against Arizona. Yeah, proving to be an excellent pickup. Chris Barnes all over the place as well, had 7 solo tackles and 1 pass defended. We talked about Rashawn Gary coming back. Rashawn and Preston Smith both looked excellent today, as well as Kenny Clark. You had Eric Stokes, who also had a pretty darn good game. He had a drop, what would have been a pick 6. But overall, this defense, though they let some big plays up, the Van Jefferson and OBJ played pretty darn well. Off that Randall Cobb football, the defense was put in a bad spot, and they were still able to hold the Rams to 3. So lots of success there, and the special teams definitely cleaned some things up in the second half. Mason Crosby went 3 for 4 today, had 1 miss, and everyone was like, oh, send him to retirement, but seemed to forget all of the field goals he missed today. Again, consistency is a bit of an issue. Our long snapper is still not really that great, but able to come away with a win on most facets of the game. And just to take a look at it, time possession, Packers dominated. They basically dominated the entire first quarter, but time possession 39 minutes and 40 seconds to 20 minutes and 20 seconds that the Rams had. So this was winning football in Lambeau. It was tough. It was gritty. And taking a look at the Rams, Stafford, 21 for 38, 302 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. Could have been a whole lot more. Henderson, 16 for 55, 4 for 18 and a touchdown. Sonny Michel only ran 3 times for 14 yards. Cooper Kupp held under 100 yards. That was the main game plan from Joe Barry, and oh boy, were they successful. Again, still got 96 yards, but it's keeping him out of the end zone. Jefferson, 3 for 93 for a touchdown. The long that he had was 79, so that's where the bulk of his yards came from. Beckham, 5 for 81 and a touchdown, and he had a reception of 54 yards. So again, that's where the majority of it came from. So honestly, the entirety of the game, the Packers defense basically locked down the Rams, and they couldn't get a whole lot going. Played really damn good football. The Rams are now lost 3 in a row, and their chances at getting the number 1 seed are going to be tough, considering the Cardinals already beat them. The Packers have now beaten them, so they do not own those tiebreakers, and that's rough. But meanwhile, you look at the Green Bay Packers, who are sitting at 9-3. They have swept the NFC West, what was supposed to be the hardest division in football. The Packers have done it, taking care of business. They are currently second in the NFC behind the Cardinals, who need to lose at least one more game, and the Packers need to win out for the Packers to clinch that number 1 seed. This bye week is so necessary for the Packers, considering all the injuries they've gone through. And after the bye, you start looking at maybe we get David Bakhtiari back sooner rather than later, maybe Jair, who was practicing on the sideline last week, and maybe even Zadarius Smith. In other news, you had the Vikings lose to the 49ers, so they dropped down to 5-6. And at this point, with only 5 games left, we're starting to look at potentially playoff clinching scenarios here. So theoretically, the Packers could potentially clinch when they come back if they win against the Bears, but we'll see kind of where that shakes out. In this game, you also saw Darnell Savage, who thankfully is okay. There was a dirty hit on the onside kick at the very end on the last play of the game. Thankfully, he's okay. He tweeted that he was okay. Also, you saw Aaron Donald choking one of our offensive linemen, and there was no flag that was called there, but I guess that's cool. Maybe the NFL will take a look at that, or, maybe not. But I thought the Packers get all the calls. But as I said, the Packers, 5 games left, 3 of them at home. Against some tough opponents, though, the Ravens and Browns that you saw tonight. I hope we get those teams exactly the way they played when we played them later on this season. But by the way, that stream, if you were there, wee. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. I know that I'll be enjoying the bye week next week with some stress-free football. But let me know. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.